All right. Hello, hello, hello. This is my first live from this channel. Hopefully, you've caught some of my shorts that I post. I just sort of post them at the end of my night as I'm thinking about sort of how the election has been going. I am, just to be upfront, I am a Trump supporter, but I do try to have um, a balanced overall view of both candidates and how they are performing. And um, there's been I'm all sort of all over the place as far as um my political background, where I've been following politics since I was a young kid, always been kind of passionate about it. It gets really frustrating, just like with anything, to follow sometimes, because even the people that seem to be the most in line with some of your values just make the stupidest uh effing decisions. And yeah, I mean, no matter where you fall, I think it's important that political discussions can be had. I don't think liberals or progressives are necessarily evil people. I don't think conservatives or Republicans are necessary evil people. I don't think either side is necessarily right or wrong. Um, Libertarians have their own view take on things, and I while I agree with some of what they say, and I disagree with some of what they say, and that could be said for all sides. It's just a matter of figuring out some way that we can come to some common ground. And in addition to covering politics on this channel, I'm also going to be exploring my Catholic faith, and so I'm going to keep that. I'll try not to intermix them. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of crossover there, but that's not what this stream is going to be about. So, but that's just keep an eye out for that. I do plan on covering the book A Biblical Walk Through Mass, and I hope to read that and explore that with you guys, as well as reference uh, the Bible, just to show where those things are coming from. And if you haven't been to a Catholic mass, even if you're against it, I highly recommend you go and check it out. It's quite beautiful. There's something very rhythmic and peaceful about it. And uh, even if you're not Catholic, I do recommend going up during the Eucharist, during communion, and getting a blessing. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. We'll cover that probably this Saturday. I'll try to get that stream started for that series. And but tonight we're going to talk about Kamala Harris, because this is this is wild, to say the least. This interview, she's had some pretty rough interviews in the past. I feel like she's had some decent ones. Um, my my biggest concern with this Harris campaign, despite what um, cheerleaders like Harry Sisson and Ian, I can't remember his name, or that, despite what those people make it out to be, um, there has to be some serious questions about how she conducts herself in these interviews, especially when she's getting not so favorable questions. Uh, the being challenged in an interview should be, I mean, it should be chafing, but it shouldn't be as tumultuous as it seems for her. I'm wondering if she is seriously taking to heart that she needs to practice answering these questions with somebody else? Are they working with her to improve these interviews? It doesn't seem like it. I mean, we're 3 weeks out from the election, and she doesn't seem to really be improving. As a matter of fact, she's starting to seem more frazzled and a little bit more worn out the more interviews that she does do. Um, and then and you have to look at everything that she, like, during her stump speeches, um, these little one-on-one interviews, or just like um, trying to take questions in random at random. It's She doesn't provide any real insight into what she actually thinks. They're all just these like cookie cutter answers, that might be a little different than what she might give on a stump speech. But for the most part, I mean, it's bad. It's so bad that for the majority, the people are picking up on she's constantly has to remind people that she grew up in a middle class family. It's almost like when she says that at this point, it's almost like she's saying it not just to convince us, but herself as well that she came from a middle class family. Um, she's constantly trying to uh, do or say things that, uh, like, I don't know if she thinks that that's how she connects with people by saying, look at me, I'm a normal person. She's very robotic in her responses. So, yeah, let's get started at with this taking a little look at this interview here, cuz let's go with a different screen. Yeah, that's better. I don't need to be the big point. Um so let's take a look at this. Hopefully the audio. Yeah, there we go. So that's a pretty fair question because she if she says she's as involved as she claims to be, and if she cannot get away from being labeled border czar. I mean, it's official White House documents. CBS, despite what they claim now, ran articles about how she was named border czar. So she can't run away from that, and I wish she would just own up to it at this point. I mean, she should have done it a long time ago. Um, you know, i- Contrary to popular belief, not popular belief, and an election that's going poorly or not quite the way you want it to go can be turned around. And I would say the time for her to do that would have been 2 to 3 weeks after the DNC convention. They really should have struck whatever ridiculous plan they were trying to do and changing it over the last I don't know, week and a half, having her do these um, podcast, ill-advised podcast, radio shows, and TV. It's a bit too late. They should have definitely done that move a lot sooner. That being said, I think back to Obama's first campaign. He was doing okay. I mean, that race um, was pretty even at the start. I mean, you had John McCain, who is a bit of a household name at that time. His name is certainly more recognizable across the country, and he was seen as somebody that could bridge the left and the right side, just because he was. I mean, he was a rhino. He was able to work with both sides because he pretty much was playing both sides. Then you have Barack Obama, who's an up and coming senator who's making waves because he's quite charismatic. His grassroots campaign to get him the Senate seat was inspirational. It actually completely changed the direction that the DNC was sort of running their campaigns at that time. By the time it got to him running the primaries and then getting the nom the nod for the ticket, but he was, for the most part, neck and neck with McCain. And then it came out like I can't remember who ran the report about his ties to a pretty I wouldn't say dangerous, but a pretty radical individual. and that was someone that was closely linked with his family in terms of he went to the person's church, um, spoke with them, invited dinners. They were pretty close. I can't remember exactly who they were, but it was painted in a negative light, and like him allowing somebody with such controversial viewpoints so close to his inner circle and growing up, like that's that's a concern. That guy's viewpoints and ideals certainly didn't line up with the American way, and he took a hit for that. And to his credit and to his campaign's credit, he came out and he did this like press briefing. Absolutely incredible speech. Probably, um, yeah, probably like top five like political speeches that I've seen. Um, Probably top two, to be honest. Um, Political speeches I've seen ever given, and I mean he changed hearts and minds. He assuaded a lot of people's fears in that speech, and it worked to his benefit. And he began to take over. He started to come off as more personable, whereas McCain started coming off as a little bit curmudgeon-y, bit of an attitude. Attitude does not work very well if it's sharp and cutting and taken, like if it's a personal anger. Like there's a difference between like a personal anger and a outrageous anger, um, in terms of you know being upset at a situation or being upset at individuals. And McCain was pressed, and he didn't come off too well. And then unfortunately, um, Sarah Palin really did not provide McCain um, really any positives. She was a bit of a spitfire, but she was a bit of a wild cannon and an unknown, and she uh, came off as yeah. I mean, she came off as like a Midwest mom, but she was coming from Alaska. The problem, I think, in doing that is um, she didn't come off as like authoritative, you know. So that adding on to the ticket, there was just really nothing to sort of smooth over McCain's more sharper edges when he got pressed on stuff. So I mean, that election was lost because of that and because of those factors. Now Harris had that opportunity, but there's several things that she doesn't have going for her that Barack Obama in his prime had, or really any other politician that won, um, uh, you know, won the presidency. And it's a skill set that should have been refined on her way up through um, to the Senate. She was an attorney general. She supposedly uh, n- uh, uh, presented arguments during criminal proceedings. I say that because you try and you go back and you try to look this stuff up, you find almost nothing about it. And so the biggest problem she has is she's never really been challenged. Like there's some shenanigans and stuff like that that happened to get her the AG nod, um, and eventually win. But when she got to the Senate, I mean, she was a Democrat running for a heavy Democrat uh, um, administration there for the state of California. She's pretty much going to get the shoe in. There's no doubt about that. So she wasn't really challenged um, on her viewpoints, and she was kind of able to do carte blanche whatever she wanted as an AG. I think some of that stuff is quite well covered, so I'm not going to retread that, especially not off the top of my head. Um, but she's never really faced any sort of real um, refinement in giving interviews or adversarial interviews, I think. And that shows with a lot of this. I mean, even when she was running for the primary, the biggest issue she had was they weren't really asking her questions. I mean, she did some town halls, she did present some information, but I think that mostly came. I don't feel like there was enough of that going on. They did cover her. They sent reporters. They embedded reporters with her because they thought for sure that she was going to be the next big thing, and they were pushing her so incredibly hard in that primary for 2016 or 2020, I should say. And you know, what were they getting? Like they were getting taken on shopping trips. Um, she was having mini fashion shows in front of the embedded reporter, and it was just like, okay, but what is she about? And she never really took the time to reach out, talk to people. I mean, she set up offices here in. I live in Iowa. She set up offices here in Iowa. They had people on the ground. I mean, there was, an attempt, but as far as like her actually coming here and trying to really ingratiate herself with, y- you know, with Democrat voters for those primary races, she didn't do that, and her campaign showed it. They completely collapsed. So I now that she is having to, she's not riding the coattails of somebody else into the office. She's going for the top seat herself. And I'm thinking her campaign thought that this was going to be super easy. She probably, like a lot of the people that are actually on the campaign that are still there now, are probably uh, favors that are owed, or people just like looking to, put something on their resume. Not people that are really experienced in navigating a presidential campaign. And that all points to the very person at the top. I mean, wherever her handlers are, her herself, they're not ready for this. So her being asked this question, uh, to bring it right back around to Brett Baer, and his first question is, um, do you have a number for the amount of illegal immigrants that have crossed the border? And being second in command, being the border czar, she has to be able to answer this. Uh, so, very, 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 very first question. So, instead of humility is an incredible an incredible thing. Humility is an incredible thing. If I were okay, so again, remind you guys, I'm voting Trump, right? But we have to understand what our enemy is doing. We can't just simply make fun of um, the terrible responses. We have to analyze why is this not working for her. So say she doesn't know the answer, which is fine. It you would be forgiven that, especially if you admitted it. It would probably look bad, but I would have personally advised her like, no, that's interesting. Those figures sound um, probably close to what the actual number is. I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I can have that as a takeaway and send you the exact numbers for how many we think are coming across. But it is a lot, and like that's one of the things that I think we could definitely improve on under my administration. She could have taken it that direction. She could have admitted that she doesn't have the specific numbers, offered to present them to Fox and Brett uh, after the interview as soon as possible, and quickly segued into acknowledging the problem and then sliding into offering a solution. But instead, she comes off as adversarial and says, "Let's get to the point. Let's get to the point." Well, um, she's trying to she's trying to control the narrative as opposed to just answer the questions, and that's Trump does the same thing to a degree, but he also at times provides some very poignant and uh, to the core of the the heart of the question, to the core of the question, um, what's being asked, and he's able to redirect that. Um, and that just comes with skill. So let's get back to this. That was a bit forceful by Brett to keep her on topic. He's not allowing her to filibuster. Um, he does acquiesce at times. You'll see that later on in the interview, but he's doing his best not to let her do her stump speech, her prepared answers, because she really, really wants to get these talking points out, and that's another issue. She doesn't come off as very organic in her interviews. Very mechanical. Okay. So compliments to Kamala for her body posture. I actually think it's pretty good. She is sitting there. She seems, you know, commanding without being demanding with her body position. She's relaxed. That's what her body language does. But when they do this close up of her face, she is coming off as quite attentive, but there doesn't seem to be a calm as she's absorbing the question. Um, hmm. But okay, so she brings up that bill. Um, Brett is aware of it. Brett knows that that bill was there, but even in a Democrat-controlled House and Senate, they didn't even bother trying to push it forward. So why is she bringing up that bill? Did she get that bill confused with the one that they tried to push 9 months ago? Um, she's a bit all over the place. It's the second question, but semantics. But having that bill up there and saying that they have done things, that's like, okay, yeah, but why could you get that passed? Like you say you had that bill, and you were trying to get that bill pushed through. Wouldn't it the best time be to do that while you have control of all three uh, chambers of government? Okay, so say that's true, and they wanted to do those things. Why did they get rid of the Trump executive orders? They could have left those in place while they got all their stuff in a row, but instead they just removed it all, and they didn't touch it until 9 months ago. They've been in power for over 3.5 years now. Stump talking point, and so as soon as she brings up a stump talking point, Brett Bear interjects, and I like that because that, for one, it keeps the interviewee from hijacking the entire thing, and she's desperately trying to do that. One second, let me see if I can pull this up because she brings up that bill every single time. Says Trump is the one that stopped it from happening, and every time she brings this up, God bless him. Byron Donalds um, brings it r- redoes a similar post. Um, let's see. Every time. Here it is. He always reposts all of this data. It's so wonderful. Um, pulled it up like this. Actually, let's go bigger. Let's just take me off of this. Oh, I feel like an old man. Well, that's not exactly what I. Yeah, I'm definitely a boomer right now. Let's blow this up so everybody can see it. All right. Sounds good. All right. So why the Senate border deal failed? One, codify catch and release, let in 1.8 million illegals. So this let in, they were going to propose an annual limit of how many they would allow to cross the border illegally. So they were gonna legalize illegal, like you still broke the law, but we made it legal for you to to break the law, but you still like I don't ugh, insane how, but okay. Anyways, let in 1.8 million illegals, fund sanctuary cities, fund NGOs, moving illegals, uh, lawyers to illegals, work permits to illegals, nothing to deport legals, no immediate wall funds, weak asylum screening, which that like it's already it's like it wouldn't have improved. It was just verbiage to make it sound like they were going to strengthen screening. But at this point, um, all of the terrorists so far uh, that were in this country, including the individual that was planning to do um, an event, a 9/11 style event during election day. That person was brought into this country and from Afghanistan, who used to be a CIA asset, was not vetted properly, and that was he was let in, and they were planning to do nothing. Like that guy was already here, and they weren't really presenting anything to correct that. And then an additional 60 billion to Ukraine, which what does it matter? Because we're already, even without passing this, we've still sent over, I think, another 200 billion to Ukraine. Um, Crazy, just crazy. All right, let's get back to this. Yeah, sorry, I paused it because I was talking. I totally had to run upstairs and grab my water. I don't know if you guys noticed, my throat's a little dry right now. Yeah, this is I did catch this on X. Her response and answer here are disturbing. Not the answers that I would have instructed her to give. So that's a bit of a tricky question, right? So ideally, we want an apology to come from our politicians. If she has the ability to um, apologize, and it's a skill that's another skill set that someone in the public space um, would would need. The great politicians. Not that their politicians are great, but the great politicians would have that skill set of apologizing and coming off as sincere, even if they're not really sincere. Um, Her acknowledging that it's a tragic event, man. I feel like there's got to be a better answer there that doesn't go all the way up to a full blown apology. Um, I do think she owes those families an apology. But as far as tactics, in giving this interview, man, um, it's probably not for the best for her to go about doing that. Because I don't know, just think about some of the other answers that she's given. She's not very not very good as coming off as truly empathetic. It always seems a little um, derived and condescending. That's pretty rough to listen to. Yeah, her daughter, but I think she was 12, 12, 13. She's really young. That's immigration is such a it. I feel like people make it way more complicated and difficult than um, it needs to be. If for one, uh, if we're not having to process um, illegal aliens coming across the border, and just illegal aliens, um, there's other legal pathways for immigration. They keep saying that the system is swamped, um, constantly allowing people to uh, illegally cross the border unchecked. Puts a strain on those resources that otherwise could be used to speed up the processes, um, uh, reduce the time between checkpoints as far as filing the paperwork. That stuff is really, really expensive. That in itself seems like a racket, But um, yeah, it's y- y- you want to be compassionate. You want to let them um, you the natural inclination is to want to bring them in. I totally understand that, but the reality is just that it puts an additional strain to deal with all of that paperwork, on top of having to do the checks and balances that people go through for legal immigration. um, those people want to do the right thing, and we should want people to come to the country via the right way, because they're kind of like, you're paying your respects by doing it, through the proper channels to become an American citizen. Those are the people that we want to welcome. Those people give off the best impression. um, the Yeah, I mean, that's always been my experience, um, and what others have always talked about with regards to families or people that come to America through legal immigration, um, they understand it. They get um, what it means to be American, and they work harder than actual Americans. And it's because in their minds, all of us are, the ideal uh, piece of humanity in the world is America and the freedoms that our country affords us. Um, some freedoms that are, obviously under attack at times. These legal immigrants want to live up to that and be the best because they want to be accepted. And we do, and we look at every bit of slice of Americana, from the tippy top of Maine to down to the Florida Keys, out to California and Alaska, Hawaii. Uh, there are certainly um, some incredible people that live in this country. Now, that being said, she's not. Oh, look at that look off the camera. I did not catch this earlier. Look at that. She's looking at her handler. She's looking at her people off to the side. We're 6 minutes and 46 seconds in, and she's giving that look off camera. Wow. Yeah, she got knocked off her foundation a little bit there, huh? Wow, she started that answer looking off stage. She was not looking at him. She was looking at somebody else. That's probably her handler saying, "Don't answer that question." But the thing too is like that's a negative body movement that she's doing, shaking her head left to right, saying that she's sorry for that loss. Again, she's on top of that. It doesn't like hearing these things and being requested an apology here. Um, she's the undertones of her emotional state seem unaffected. Like she's disinterested in this question, in this topic. Um, it's kind of weird. It's sort of the disengagement of humanity. Ah, that's gross. So she wants to take the focus off herself. Immediately starts bringing up Trump. She was in a position to fix it, and she still doesn't directly address the question. Like so far, we're up to like what, 4 questions. She's just not providing answers to.
We need to prosecute these cases faster. We need to support for those cases that to be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that that's going to get fixed. That's how the system works. That's
90 plus that we send it in the first place. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about. But we frequently talk to the Border Patrol Union who supports that backup. So they support it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said we can quote a failure for this. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated.
That is a pretty brutal question to ask. To the point, cited quote, and she goes the empathy route with the answer. They're frustrated. Why didn't you get them the resources that they needed? And if she's going to bring up the bill again, I still have Byron Donald's tweet here pulled up. Codify catch and release, let in 1.8, fund sanctuary cities, fund NGOs, moving illegals, lawyers to illegals, work permits, nothing to deport, no immediate wall funding, weak asylum screening, and for some reason 60B to Ukraine.
And there have been changes, and we talked about that. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country where they will apply for driver's licenses, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free healthcare. You still support those things.
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I would follow the law. I make that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done.
If that's the case, we chose around Tim Walz at Group 7 of Minnesota who signed those very things in the state. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear as this Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we do.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings.
Pretty close. Letting 1.8 million illegals across. That's pretty close.
Well, let's be very clear. I'm the only person running for president who was prosecuted. Transnational criminal.
Talking point.
To people who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career going after people who present a threat to the safety.
Like, it's so much the very same answer she always gives. It can't be rehearsed. It can't not be rehearsed. Double negative there, Travis. It's so robotic. It's like multiple choice. Like which way do you go? And she's got these like default answers. One of them's like, I come from a middle class family, and then another one is, I'm the only person running for president who has prosecuted illegal border crossings, taken on the so and so cartel, the hootie who cartel. That's what she said.
Illegally, and I will do that with as vice president. I take that with quite serious.
This is a time when voters, especially in Pennsylvania, they just want to stop. It's every commercial. Many of them have noise, but few of them seem to break through. This particular one in the Trump campaign has got a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
for prisoners, every transgender inmate in the prison system will have access.
So, again, using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates transition to another.
Follow the law, and it's a law that's not that you're probably familiar with, now it's a public report that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available to on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think frankly that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like stone when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump had said that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition.
Well,
surgeries
you got to
happen
take
during
responsibility for what happens in your administration.
That no surgeries happen for this great.
It's been
So,
black and white.
would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars? to reduce-
That's what's called
See, she's so used to just spouting something off and being unchallenged by it. When Brett has the facts, it's she's stewing right now. So her shoulders have started to slouch a little bit. She's leaning a little bit more. She's shrunken a little bit in her shoulders. Is probably the best way I could describe that. She's starting to feel a bit cornered with this interview, and I think that's ultimately what leads to her kind of snapping a little bit.
he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because
So she brings up the dollar amount. I don't understand why she's raised $1 billion over the past 35 days for her campaign. I don't understand why she's just why does she bring up the dollar amount? That necklace, by the way, is not cheap. She's wearing those earrings again. These are the ones that look like the little Bluetooth ones, right?
that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas the $20 million on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, is really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are though. Our plans for the American people, I'm offering a plan to deal with affordable housing. I'm offering a plan to deal with what we need to strengthen.
She's trying to fall back on her stump talking points.
I'm offering a plan that is about taking care of young parents and giving them the support they need. My plans for the economy will strengthen the economy, as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates, Goldman Sachs, Moody's, and recently the Wall Street Journal, which have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy. This would make them weaker, would ignite inflation, and invite a recession by the middle of next year. Those are the facts.
We're already in a recession.
I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as president of the United States, it has been clear to those
She can't speak
who understand how
to his plans. She can't speak to his plans because she doesn't fully understand it.
I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a way forward. They want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is stable. Not a plan for the economy. Does exactly that. His plan would be again to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn the page when I was president. You were asked on 2 different shows last week what anything you would do differently when president.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
It's not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration,
what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I know.
And so that would be
She really likes those earrings and that necklace.
but also I think it's important to say with 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So, you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do different.
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes in,
Well, I mean, like on the surface, yeah, like no shit. you 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 have different names and stuff, and you're you're Kamala and he's Joe.
I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh new ideas.
Just described like a different person.
For example, and someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C., I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, who just on stage with me minutes ago.
Yeah, keep flaunting those guys.
And others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing. Addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital and access to capital to our small business leaders, including my plan for $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home.
Literally, she just went into stump speeches. So she's trying to regain control of the interview by doing her little stump speech thing. And she's done this quite a few times.
Small businesses extending the tax deduction from $5,000 to $50,000.
I've heard a lot about this plans in recent days. Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years, so what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented.
Even if you include the Trump administration over the last decade, Democrats were in charge. All of most of the last decade. I mean, you can go back at 20 years. 16 of those 20 years are Democrat. You could shorten it down to the last decade. It's still the majority controlled by Democrats.
Approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. Who you get strength. President, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Now,
That
there's
is
more
turning
than
the page.
70% of people.
That is about turning the page on rhetoric that people are exhausted about.
More than
People are
70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track,
That's. I mean, I've never seen that. I mean, I'm 40 years old. I've never seen something like that as far as the way people feel about the direction of the country.
3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79%. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
What is that answer?
Listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump?
This answer reminds me of when like any young adult like thinks they have this position and then they get challenged by it. Like you see this with some of the Charlie Kirk campus videos, which are fun. It's interesting, but they have no real substance to answer the question because all of their viewpoints and their ideas about the world are surface level, something that was presented to them, like a fact on the back of a cereal box, or some ridiculous YouTube short video or TikTok video that purports to tell you that things are not what they seem.
Defense secretaries, the national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him
Madam
instead
Vice
of
President,
the American people.
If
People are
that's the
tired
case,
of that.
if that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
So I love this question, and this is why. Because she goes on and on and on about how terrible Trump is. But in polling, half the country appears to support him and his viewpoints. So what Brett is trying to get across here is, what are you going to do to address the concerns of the people? Like you list off these bullet points, these talking points, speak to the issues, And she doesn't take the bait on that. Instead, she just she continues to stick to her talking points because she really can't provide an answer. She's honestly at the point where she hates Trump because that's what she's been told to do. She doesn't really know why she hates Trump. That little voice was not yeah. It's that it's like she's talking down to Brett, school teacher vibe.
It's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk.
Misguided for 50%.
It's not stupid. Why would they say that about the American people? And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle.
She can't.
and diminish the American people.
She's still not speaking to the issues, and she's still man, and she keeps going back to Trump. She has to take she has to turn it all onto Trump.
Within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today, Harris Faulkner, at a town hall, and this is how he responded. I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest man. No, sure. We have a ticket. It's called weaponization of government. It's terrible. So,
Frank, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he is proven.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't get any better. she actually starts to get really pretty livid after this. I'm gonna have to call it there. That is man, that is a bad interview. That is a very bad interview. I've never man, I would have to say no, not since not since Ross Perot kept popping in and out, giving an interview and just saying he's out, he's in, dropping out, dropping back in. Not since Ross Perot, um, just collapsed his campaign with indecision. That was such a bad look, man. Um, this is worse. This is way worse. I mean, looking for I should hide my mouse. That'd probably be better. But it's such a bad look, guys. Um, she is yeah, I think it's just she doesn't uh, she's not polished. I think everybody has pretty much said that her interviews are terrible. Um, they're either super softball interviews, but if she is challenged in any way, she falls apart. But I think the worst thing for her is it doesn't appear that she can um, be spontaneous. She has no real substance, so she can't really provide much in the way of an answer on any question. So she has to keep skating by and sliding on to um, diversionary tactics to take the focus off of herself, which is weird because she talks about herself a lot. So when you would think that if she's asked a direct question, she would absolutely love to deliver on talking about her, you know, talking about her subject, her favorite subject herself. Um, but instead, she just keeps falling to, you know, basic talking points. Pretty terrible. Yeah. Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge uh, says here, LOL, all she can do is blame shit on Trump. Trump wasn't president for the last 4 years. GTFO. Um, how can anyone vote for this? Yeah. 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 Yeah, they dropped the entire interview here. Bakari Sellers, Kamala Devil Harris went to Fox News even with 787 million reasons not to and looked presidential, held. Oh, Devi Harris? I guess it's her name. I read it as Devil. What does my soul see? Went to Fox News and with 787 million reasons not to, and looked presidential, held her own, and portrayed poise. And Trump War Room was like, "Why haven't you posted any clips of the interview then?" Because this is a total lie, and that's true. That is something very strange about um, the people posting positive comments the about the interview, and man, that's they're not posting actual clips. They don't have any like yes queen moments to put out there, and it's so bad. It's really bad. Like Clay Travis is like, there's so many clips I want to share, but Brett Baer saying I actually don't. What are you talking about? Was incredible. That was incredible. We just watched that. Yeah. Disgusting. Sorry. I saw an update about the Tim Walz story about him doing inappropriate things with his students, and apparently there's a video that's going around, but it's a deep fake. So if you see this video, let me put this up here for you guys before I leave you guys. If you see this video, you can see his teeth don't even line up. If you see this video here, it's not real. It's a deep fake. That's a fake person. Look at that. That you don't see symmetrical eye muscle movement like this. It's not natural. That's not natural. Anyways, terrible interview. Absolutely terrible. We gained nothing. If you were a Kamala fan, you're gonna have to be honest with yourself. That was pretty atrocious. From what I understand, the Trump War Room account has already posted, or they do. They just respond with the entire interview. It's being ripped apart. Yeah, if she was more honest, I think she would come off a lot more natural. But she's so focused on the talking points. She wasn't ready to run. So I don't know what's going on with this ticket, man. I do to close everything out, and this is gonna be my final thoughts here. I think as early as this weekend, more likely Monday, we're gonna see the Democrat Party, for the most part, abandon her to try and salvage some House seats to try and take the House, and possibly close what looking to be a pretty big wipeout for Democrats in the Senate races. They're probably going to shore that up as well. But I think that'll all start happening next week. Anyways, that's the last I'm going to do here tonight. Next live stream, it's going to be Saturday night after my Horror on the Orient D&D stream, which is going to be on Jacob Ironside's channel. That's been fun. I think we're episode 5 this week. We've got 2 pieces of the simulacrum, and I think we're about to leave Milan. Hopefully I get a chance to do some shopping before we get out of there. I need to resupply and get a nice rest as we head up to our next locale to get a simulacrum. We are losing somebody from that stream, so that's going to be sad. Hopefully it opens up and we get somebody else in there. I'm curious to see what Magic Man and Jacob decide to do with that. And so yeah, that'll be Saturday at 6, I believe, 6 or 7. And which means I'm gonna miss Svengoolie. This weekend's gonna be awesome. I think we got 2 of my favorites this week. Oh yeah, Labyrinth. We're gonna have Labyrinth, and there's another movie we're watching. It's Svengoolie October double weekend. Yeah, they've been showing 2 episodes, 2 movies back to back, and that's been fun because I was getting a little. We were getting to the end of the Adam West Batman for MeTV, so it's fun watching that. I watch old people shows. Anyways, adios, guys. Keep your head on a swivel, and man, if you catch this, leave a comment down below, like, subscribe. This is going to be a banger of an election cycle. 3 weeks to go. Adios.